Oh, you want to play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless victim?
Close your eyes and scream, man. Scream for your life.
Welcome, Scream Queens, Kings, and Things. Whether you're screaming at movies or the real life stuff, I'm your host, Jenica Olin. This is my 47th episode. My theme of the month is /gender, a trans horror takeover. This month, I am passing the mic to those who know what it feels like to be villainized in society. The LGBTQ plus community is an undeniable part of the horror genre. A vast majority of these depictions have enforced harmful stereotypes, and this month I am tackling this topic with people from the community. Today, I'm tackling trans issues in horror with a mad scientist that creates a monster. Misunderstood and treated like an abomination, the monster turns into what society expects of him. If you're new here, each episode will have an intro, brief synopsis of the movie, analysis of the film, and I get into the true horrors as well. Spoiler alert! I've made it my job to spoil the shit out of this movie. Today, I'll be covering Frankenstein, 1931, directed by James Whale, written by John Balderston, Mary Shelley, and Peggy Webling, starring Colin Clive, May Clark, and Boris Karloff. The tagline, "The Man Who Made a Monster." Some quick trivia about this film. The monster in this film does not physically resemble the character in Mary Shelley's novel. It was makeup artist Jack P. Pierce who came up with the innovations such as the monster's flat head, the bolts through the neck, and the droopy eyelids, and the poorly fitted suit. Any future Frankenstein film or parodies, such as The Monsters, that feature any of these physical abnormalities, takes its inspiration from Pierce's makeup work. Mary Shelley was only 19 years old when she wrote the novel. Boris Karloff's makeup took 4 hours each day for Jack P. Pierce to apply, and his cumbersome costume weighed 48 pounds in the uncomfortable heat of summer. Boris Karloff offered to remove his partial bridge work as part of the monster's makeup process to create this sunken cheeks look. Frankenstein is technically not conceived as a horror movie since the term horror as a film genre was first used in 1934. In a moment of ghoulish humor, when Fritz is stealing the brain, he bumps into a human skeleton. This was a real human skeleton. Film producers found it faster and cheaper to purchase a real human skeleton from a biological supply house rather than creating an artificial one. This would even happen in the 70s. In the opening credits, the monster is credited as ? And only in the closing credits is the monster credited as Boris Karloff. James Whale was one of the first openly gay directors in Hollywood, a fact that had a notable influence on his work, particularly his monster movies. Many film historians argue that his status as an outsider in society allowed him to infuse his films with themes of alienation and social rejection. Let's set the scene with a synopsis of the movie.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
When this dead hand moves, the monster created by a man they called Mad is turned loose to strike terror into the hearts of men.
Dr. Henry Frankenstein wants to build a man in his own image, using the body of a dead man. He and his assistant Fritz dig up a freshly buried coffin and steal the body. When they realize the head and brains of the body are severely damaged, they decide to steal the brain from Dr. Frankenstein's former teacher, Dr. Waldman. When Fritz accidentally drops the glass jar with the label "normal brain" on it, he decides to take the glass jar with the label "abnormal brain," using some kind of mysterious ray that Dr. Frankenstein discovered. The body is brought to life during a thunderstorm. and the monster of Frankenstein is born. Later, when Dr. Frankenstein realizes that he has created an aggressive monster, he and Fritz lock the monster up in a cell. When the monster is repeatedly bullied and provoked by Fritz, the monster eventually manages to kill him. When the monster escapes, he meets a little girl playing near the water. The monster and the girl throw flowers in the water. Enjoying the playing, the clumsy monster proceeds to pick up the girl and throw her in the water too. Later, we learn that the little girl drowned in the incident when her father carries her through the streets. The city's population propelled into an uproar, demanding the death of Frankenstein's monster. The monster is driven into an old windmill where he takes the captured Dr. Frankenstein. The monster throws Dr. Frankenstein off the top of the mill. He survives when he falls on one of the blades, after which the people of the city set the mill on fire, and the monster is trapped under falling debris.
All right, now it's time to talk horror, and today my guest is Mariana's Fat Wench. They are in the Orlando drag alt scene.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
And I feel so bad I missed your last show. I didn't realize it was actually at Conduit. If I would have realized that you were going to be in it, I would have been there.
That is A-okay. That was my first time ever performing at the Conduit with Hellhound Entertainment for Spike Ball. And it was a blast. It was great. The Conduit is such a cute little space. So
yeah, it's a dirty little dive bar. It's got its charm, and we do a lot of different events there. So it's a very inclusive space. So where can people find you, and what have you been working on?
So people can find me pretty much all around Orlando. I'm starting to branch out more to St. Pete. I'm going to have some shows in Tampa. I've had my own show in Tampa in September. And currently I am working on a couple of different numbers for Halloween. Halloween season is my favorite. My birthday is actually on Halloween. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so October is usually all over the place for me. But I feel like this October is even more special because it's my first October doing drag. So everybody's doing such cool stuff, and like it's all queer, crazy horror. And I love horror. I love queerness. Every day is Halloween. I don't know. I'm working on several different looks kind of right now. And I have some open stage shows coming up. I have a show at the end of the month coming up with Dyke Night St. Pete that I'm really looking forward to, and it's a communion look. So I've been kind of trying to like build up my special effects makeup skills.
Nice. I do want to speak a little bit on the queer scene in Florida, because I know people listening in, like we had a little discussion beforehand. I've lived in Florida my entire life. You've lived in Florida your entire life.
Yeah. Yes.
And we both grew up in like Tampa area.
Yep.
I'm just like 20 years older than you. No. 18 years older than you. But I know people are afraid of coming here as like a queer LGBTQIA person, or, you know, especially people who are trans. They're really worried about how they're going to be perceived when they come here. I don't know. Do you feel comfortable speaking on that as like how you feel in the community, or?
Yeah, of course. Okay. Well, I feel like growing up, I didn't really know where I fit in and what my niche was. And Tampa to me wasn't really like a queer and trans hub like Orlando is. Like this year especially, have been presenting more non-binary. I'm kind of exploring trans mask a little bit. I'm just exploring my gender and sexuality. I visited my parents in Tampa, and I just felt like everybody was staring at me, like trying to figure out like what I am. Why do I have like my beard, but I also have boobs? And like sometimes I feel like people are like trying to nitpick and dissect who I am. And I felt that so intensely in Tampa versus Orlando. I feel like almost every other person that you meet here is queer or trans. Not to say that like Orlando doesn't have its flaws, because it does, especially since it's continuously getting gentrified and it is a very white gay space. So it's harder when you're a person of color, especially when you're Black and you're trying to find queer and trans spaces that, you know, reflect you and your struggles and the intersectionalities tied to being being who you are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say to people who are scared of coming to Florida as a trans person or as a queer person, I would say you are 100% valid. 100% valid, especially since Ron, I won't.
Dish head.
Yes. I love calling him this shit stain, like, but he is continuously stripping away our rights. He just sees us as this huge enemy for existing. And, you know, I used to be a case manager with Zebra Youth, which deals with LGBTQ youth homelessness. And every day I felt like we were just living in fear about like our programs getting cut, funding getting cut. Will we be able to provide as much resources as we want to?
I was actually thinking about volunteering with them.
Yeah.
So you don't work with them anymore?
No, I don't work with them anymore. I have a degree in social work. So I work at a mental health respite, and I essentially provide overnight care to people who are kind of looking to like disconnect from the world in a way that isn't carceral. So like, you know how people get Baker acted and they're forced to stay there and it's very sterile and it's, you can't leave, you're there against your will. We do not believe in that at all. It is completely voluntary. We provide resources, we provide peer support. So it's a nice little space. It's very different from the drag that I do, but
well, that's awesome. So you're like helping people in crisis and you're being true to yourself. And, you know, we need people like you right now, especially in spaces like this. We have to keep fighting for it. My generation, even like as a millennial, I had more opportunities than there are now.
Yeah.
And the generation before me had even more opportunities. And we've got these fucking boomers that want to hold on to everything. And it's like,
oh my God.
They're fucking dinosaurs wanting to
like, please, somebody get them a pamper and a bottle and a pacifier, because we need to shut these baby boomers up. I'm sorry.
No, we do. No, they are big babies. They really are.
It's just like clinging onto tradition and this
that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and this rejection of change, even though change is inevitable. I mean, the one thing we are certain of in this life is change is going to happen. And no matter how much you resist it, it's still going to happen.
So today we are here to talk about Frankenstein. And I know you said that you have a whole drag routine around Frankenstein, correct?
Yes. So actually, I'm in the works of planning a number, or kind of like my own personal zine project that incorporates spoken word, drag, and digital media to talk about like my connections with Frankenstein and like my connection with Frankenstein's monster, because the project is called Creation Beyond Creation.
It's a good name.
Thank you. And like in the like parentheses, there's like a U in there, because I kind of felt like growing up, I really didn't have any control over my life. And there was so much rejection that my mom had towards me that I never understood, because I was like, girl, you made me. And it was just this constant battle of what I wanted versus what she wanted. And when I didn't want what she wanted, the rejection was so immediate. So I kind of was inspired by Frankenstein, because I didn't feel like I really was a creation of self until way later in my life. And I feel like a lot of queer people feel that same way when they kind of get to break free and do their own things and meet people who are like them and can put labels and names to what they're experiencing, because we don't really live in a society that teaches a queer kid how to navigate this world. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And as you were talking, I kind of made the connection of like Frankenstein, the doctor Frankenstein rejects his creation. Do you feel like you relate to that part? Like where you feel like you were kind of rejected by, well, you had said it, but by your mom, which is like
Yeah.
so shitty. I'm so sorry. You don't
It's
deserve
okay.
that.
Like, our relationship is much better. I feel like now there's a whole nother layer now that I'm like exploring with gender, where it's like I'm experiencing kind of another rejection from her. It's not as intense as it was when I was a child and she was kind of all I had. But that's kind of how I see Frankenstein's monster. Like, I feel like what I really love about Frankenstein's monster is that he's like the perfect example of queer rage. Queer people aren't inherently evil or bad or malicious or vengeful. It is because we are forced to be combative, because we are being oppressed by forces that are so beyond us. And I feel like that's how Frankenstein's monster feels too. Like the moment he's created, he's getting hot fire that he doesn't understand thrust at him. He's getting whipped. He's thrown in a dark room. Everybody's screaming at him. And what did they expect him to be, a jolly good fella? He was in pure fight or flight mode. And that's how queer and trans people live a lot of our lives.
I can hear so much of your background with social work, the words that you're using, like the fight or flight and everything. So you brought up a lot of really good points about Frankenstein, about the fire, about, he's in fight or flight. He literally is just made. He doesn't understand anything.
Yeah.
And he's immediately treated like a threat.
Yes.
He doesn't know why.
And it's like, you think they'll teach him how to be a person, how to socialize? No.
It's like everyone wants to do certain things just to say, like, I can do it. And then when they have an outcome that they didn't expect, they just want to hide it. No, you need to take accountability, Dr. Frankenstein. Take accountability for the creature that you created. And it's kind of like the nature versus nurture with Frankenstein. Like, he was definitely not created out of nature, but nurture failed. Like, no one's nurturing him. Have you seen Bride of Frankenstein?
Yes, I actually was going to bring that up. You read my mind. I think that is an amazing point that you bring up. The fact that there's a lot of lack of nurture. And with Henry Frankenstein in particular, the doctor, I felt like through both Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, he's not really held accountable for any of the actions and any of the harm that he caused to the monster that he created, to the town that ended up losing a ton of people, and even to his own wife. Like, he kind of ruined her life, her perception of this happy marriage and relationship they were going to have. Like, there was a lot of people that he failed, and I never ever felt like he ever recognized that. And I hated the end of Bride of Frankenstein so much, because it kind of felt like, Frankenstein's monster was doing this action and like ending the lives of him and the bride. And it just ended with him blaming himself and being like, I shouldn't exist, when we need to be pointing all the fingers at Henry Frankenstein for not stepping up to the plate and being kind of like this deadbeat father. And in Bride of Frankenstein, I feel like that's where it really harped on the queer themes and like kind of showing the importance of community for queer people, because I think of the scene where Frankenstein's monster met the blind man. And the blind man, he accepts him with open arms, and he provides him with wine and smoke, and he's like, come sit with me. And a line that really struck me, and I feel like it's just a perfect summarization of like the queer community and finding solace in one another, was when he was like, you're afflicted, you can't speak, I can't see, we're afflicted together, but we have one another, like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It was just so beautiful to me. And that really showed like Frankenstein's monster's humanity. He wants to have friends. He wants to engage in music. He wants to find a place where he belongs, and to be accepted with such open arms, and then to have that quickly taken away. And even the blind man's not understanding. He's like, this is my friend. They were harming no one. They were sitting there, they were harming no one, and they were just enjoying each other's company. And I think that reinforced to Frankenstein's monster that there's really no safe space in this world for him.
Those villagers were like ice breaking in and trying to take Frankenstein.
Yeah, like what? Like, whoa, and you just come up in his house. The blind man welcomed you guys into his house, and you just purely caused chaos. And he was praying and hoping for a friend, somebody who understood him. And the moment he got that, it's just ripped away from him in the most violent way, which happens in the queer and trans community all of the time. And in relation to immigrants too, it happens all of the time.
Yeah. Any outsider in society, it's really sad because like Frankenstein just wants a friend.
Yeah.
And the hermit just wanted a friend, someone to talk to. And he really nurtures Frankenstein.
Yes.
He teaches them how to talk. They laugh. He smiles. Like, it's so beautiful, those moments.
Such an innocent scene. It is so sweet. It's kind of what was happening between him and the little girl in the first movie, where, you know, he was floating the flowers. Unfortunately, you know, it ended in tragedy, but he just didn't understand. He didn't know like the social cues and what to do. And, you know, he thought he was playing around. And the scene where he lets out that single tear because the hermit accepts him. Like, this is the one person in the town that like hasn't screamed the moment they see him, which I mean, I wouldn't be screaming. I wouldn't be screaming. I'd be like, you look cool as hell. Like,
yeah,
like so cool. And his outfit goes crazy, but they weren't ready for that yet. They were not ready for that in the town yet.
1930s, so, they weren't ready.
No, they were not ready. And I just think the tale of Frankenstein's monster, it makes so much sense that Mary Shelley, a woman, a bad bitch, wrote the story. And then James Whale is the one that brought the film to life, especially since he was living as an openly gay man during a time where that was very, very, very taboo to do. I just felt like it translated so well through Frankenstein's monster, and he didn't even have to say much for so many queer and trans people to connect to him.
Yeah. No, it was the best duo. I mean, years apart, obviously. I think our gay guy and our feminist, and those are like, that's the perfect combination.
No, seriously. And then they just had a complete slay off, like a beautiful marriage of slay. I love it.
If only they could have been in the same place at the same time.
Okay, I think they would have loved each other.
So let's get into some of this. Like, we've talked about his emotions and things like that, and him being rejected. In Mary Shelley's novel, it contains themes of loneliness and social rejection, which Whale amplified.
Yes.
The creature's despair comes from being misunderstood and shunned by society that fears and detests him based on his appearance only. This is very similar to what the LGBTQ plus individuals face in society, which we've already kind of spoke on. Is there anything, like, based on what I just said, like that you would like to add to that?
The sense of isolation. If I'm being honest, I feel like I did not see myself in like my circles and my friends and like a person that reflected me and my identity and my struggles until I came to Orlando, until I went to UCF. So I spent a lot of my childhood a very lonely kid. There was so many things about me that I didn't feel comfortable even talking about because I just felt like nobody really would understand until I came to UCF and I found a circle of Black queer femmes that I could talk to about like mental health and about like, you know, growing up in an area where you kind of feel like nobody is like you around you and kind of feeling punished for being yourself. And I feel like that was just amplified so much throughout Frankenstein's monster's life, but it was even more so shown to me, and like why I feel like the creature kind of gave up at the end of The Bride of Frankenstein was when he was so desperate for a friend. He was so desperate for the wife that her just screaming in his face like everybody else when he thought that she would be one of the only people in that town who understood because he had this belief that she was like him. It was so much more to see that on the screen because you really felt that pain of and that anger of like, this was kind of my last chance at being understood.
Yeah. He just wanted to be accepted. And like this was the one creature that he could relate to. And
even she just didn't get it.
She was also like just born too. It was just like, she was just woken up and all she could do, like she was like squawking like a bird.
Yeah. Her first words was that weird like shriek.
Yeah. That's like the only thing she says. There are no words. It's just like shrieks. But no one gave either of them a chance to flourish or learn or anything. Like it was just automatically like, you're bad. And I think that's something that at that point, Frankenstein, the monster, had internalized that I don't fit in. Like I am an outcast. I am an outsider. No one wants me here. And so when it was another thing, another creature that was made the way that they were, that is now rejecting them. They're like, there's nothing for me.
There's this reinforcement that's going on by society, by the monster's own, basically like father, or God, right?
Deadbeat dad.
Deadbeat dad, the most deadbeat dad of them all. And now like it's being reinforced by somebody that you thought was going to provide you kinship. I think that was the worst rejection of it all.
It's very sad.
It's so sad. Like my man's life was so tragic from the moment he opened his eyes to the moment he burnt down that building. I was like, I mean, is he gonna ever catch a break?
Yeah. So the next theme that I kind of have in here is creation versus self-construction. Yeah. So with Frankenstein creates life outside of natural reproductive norms. A monster is assembled, air quotes, to monster.
Right.
Yeah. We know it's not really a monster. How do you relate to that? Like finding your own destiny versus the creation of you and what someone else thinks you should be.
I could go on about this forever. I love this. Turn it up. So I genuinely feel like sometimes people have kids or create something or buy something or get a pet or something, not because they see that person or that pet or the object or whatever as its own thing. They see it as an extension of themselves. They see it as their property. And I feel like Frankenstein's monster and the relationship between him and Dr. Frankenstein, it perfectly showcased that of this man purely only created the monster not to nurture, not to love, not to pour anything into creating a full-fleshed human being, but just to say, I could do this, and I am God. I have power over life, and that ego boost. And then when he saw that it wasn't this perfect image of whatever he thought it was going to be, he completely flipped out, and the rejection was so instant. So to me, it just kind of shows that Frankenstein's monster then had to learn how to interact and become his own person all on his own. And I generally feel like a lot of queer and trans people have to navigate that when they experience the rejection that they receive from their birth givers, especially trans people, this journey of like, okay, how am I going to navigate transitioning, and how am I going to navigate my gender? And there's so many specific things that, you know, you are supposed to learn from a parent that you kind of have to, I mean, a lot of the things that I learned was from the internet, was from the community that I built. But the tragedy of Frankenstein was he never really got to get that community to build himself up. I mean, every experience that he had, he kind of experienced it in like a very childlike wonder, very like childlike way. It was very innocent. It was very pure. And it was society that was villainizing his actions. Like, Frankenstein doesn't understand the concept of malicious or even revenge. It's something that is inherently and naturally coming out of him because of all of these environmental factors that he can't control. And there's nobody holding his hand through it. So this like whole concept of creation beyond the person who created you, it can be a very lonely journey. It can be a very lonely journey, and it can be very confusing. And I think that's just so important, and why queer people cling onto found family so much is because we're looking for answers through each other. Like, we're all people who have our own traumas and have our own backgrounds. And there's a reason why we had to find the family in other places, which, I mean, I love my found family down. But there's always going to be that kind of wound that you carry of, why couldn't my parents be this for me? Why couldn't my blood family be this for me? And that's really shown through Frankenstein's monster, of why couldn't the doctor just take a moment to get to know the creation that he made beyond just this ego project.
As like a mother, I don't understand the not accepting your child regardless of who they are. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I also like had a very different experience where I was like denied my own reality from my parents. So with that, I was like, I'm never going to do this to my child.
Right.
I'm never going to gaslight my kid.
A thing that is also reflected in Frankenstein's monster too is that nobody helped him like establish a sense of self-confidence in himself. And like, the scene that really hurts me too is when he's looking in the reflection of the pond, and he's even scared of himself. He smacks the reflection away, and he's like disgusted, because every person that he's interacted with is treating him as if he is subhuman, as if he's like the worst thing they have ever seen. And it's so hard to stand on your own 2 feet when you don't have that confidence in yourself. But it starts with the home. It starts with the home. If nobody teaches you how to be confident, it's a hard skill to develop on your own. And it took me a long time, and a lot of therapy and a lot of coping and figuring out like, no, I'm okay, and I can make this decision for myself, and the world won't end, and nobody will be in my ear to tell me that everything that I'm doing is wrong, you know?
Yeah. As you were talking about the reflection scene, I just kind of thought about how when the Frankenstein monster is looking around them, they see like what is a normal human being. right? And they think that they are just like them. They don't they don't know that they're different. Not until they look at their reflection and then they're like, oh, I don't look like them. I'm not like them. And there's that self-awareness of you're another. You've been othered. You are another because you don't look like them. And it's really sad. It's really fucked up. But it makes sense that the monster reacted that way, because before that had never seen what they actually look like. Had only seen everyone else around them.
Right. And this just carrying the sense of like confusion of why is everybody freaking out when they see me? I mean, even in the reflection, I just feel like if one person had treated him even a little bit of normal, I don't think he would have reacted that way.
No, I don't think he would have either. But it just brought this like self-awareness of why people were treating him the way he was being treated. It's really fucked up.
It's fucked up.
I'm glad that you found your people and you feel comfortable being yourself now, and you've accepted yourself regardless of what others think or perceive you as, because what's really important is how we perceive ourselves. And the people who are able to persevere in the face of doubt and believe in ourselves and continue to build ourselves up, like those are the people you don't fuck with.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, because you get it. There's a lot of reasons why, and there's a journey of how I got to where I am, and it wasn't easy. It was not easy, not at all. So unfuckwittable and very resilient. A word that I feel like just describes the Black experience, the queer experience, the trans experience. You gotta keep being resilient. You don't want to be. Everybody says you're so strong. You can handle yourself. You've been through so much. I don't want to be strong. I have to be strong. I have to be strong. Yeah. People want to see you fold. People want to see miserable and unhappy with yourself. So you want to change in their image. And I learned that the most unhappy I've ever been in my life was when I was living for others. That is the most miserable I've ever been in my life. And I was just like, I would rather suffer and be me than suffer and not be me. And then I'm suffering some more because I'm not me. So
yeah. No, it's better to be yourself, stand on your own 2 feet, make your own way, instead of following in someone else's shadow and hiding who you are. And people who are, I don't have to hide who I am. I am a cis white woman and I half Puerto Rican. Like, I understand my privilege 100%, and that there are struggles I've had to live through and things, but everyone's experience is different.
Yes.
I definitely know that as like a queer Black non-binary person, that is like double compounded for you. And it's the one thing we can do for each other is acknowledge each other's struggles and say, this isn't about who has it worse, about letting that person, validating someone else's feelings and learning from that person.
Yes.
Listening, just listening to each other.
Yes, there's so much to learn about one another. And I've been experiencing that so much. I feel like I've spent my whole life just absorbing other people's perspectives and learning so I can be a better person, not only for myself, but for others. And I feel like that's how you can continue the path of like being empathetic towards one another as well. Just, learning from other people's experiences and really realizing that it's not always about you. And that's okay. That's okay. Because the world is beautiful when there's space for all of us in it. And I've learned that so much through like my identity and through my journey through drag and through hyper fixating on queer and trans themes in horror media. And I've it's been great. It's been fun. Like I love it. You know, there's times where there's people who don't understand me, or people who think that we need to cling to tradition and I need to change things about myself to be accepted. But I mean, if I didn't change myself to be accepted by my parents, I'm not going to change myself to be accepted by you.
Exactly. And
Goodbye.
honestly, those people that don't understand you, it's not because they don't understand you. It's because they don't want to understand you. They're not trying. They don't give a shit. For me, especially as I'm getting older, I'm like reaching 40 or whatever. I never want to be the kind of person who is afraid of change, who is afraid of the younger generation. I want to make sure that I know that I have an upper hand here in society. And I want to make sure that I am listening to those who are adversely affected and validating people's experiences and giving them a space to, because you know what? I know as a queer Black person, you've had to listen to white people's shit all the time.
Girl, don't you know it?
So it's, you know, at some point you know, I think especially people of color have been told to sit down and listen to these people who have the microphone most of the time, and those are white people. And at some point the microphone gets passed and they sit the fuck down.
Yep. I think inherently a lot of white people especially get very scared when you bring up the term white privilege. They think it's an attack. They think it's this horrible thing, like, oh, white privilege, it's not real. Privilege is not inherently a bad thing. It is how you use that privilege. Are you using your privilege to tear others down, or are you using your privilege to lift yourself and others up with you? You know what I mean? Like, it is not inherently a bad thing. That's the way of life. It's just, are you using your privilege to make other people's lives worse? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's ways that I'm privileged. There's ways that you're privileged. There's ways that people are privileged that we cannot control. And there are so many different kinds of privileges. And it's really all about if we are focused on helping one another have a seat at the table.
Yeah. And, you know, I think what a lot of people get wrong is that they think privilege means that you can't have an adverse life either, or experience struggles. Everyone can experience struggles. But you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to tell the white men right now, you have had every fucking advantage in life. And if you're failing, it's because you fucking suck.
That's what I'm talking about. Because how was this country carved for you and you're flopping?
Because you fucking suck.
I have to look back at your mama and papa and God. You're just the worst. Like, no, not me. I don't know. There's something going on.
I'm gonna have incels coming at me now. Come at me. Let's go.
Okay. Okay, and they can sit right behind that dusty keyboard and type away.
I know, right? Okay, so let's get back to this monster. The next thing I kind of have in here is like being seen as a monster for simply existing, which we've already talked about that.
We're very well-rounded.
Yeah. I do really feel bad for Frankenstein when he's chased by mobs.
Like the whole town. I'm like, y'all don't have anything better to do? I don't. They were quick.
Pitchforks. They've got their fire. They're
torches. They unified so quick. I was like, whoa.
Small town problems.
Okay. Pitchforks and torches.
This is why I don't go to Okeechobee.
Oh.
No.
You won't catch me in the Panhandle either.
No. I stay in Orlando.
Yeah, won't even really catch me in Bithlow or Christmas either. I'm okay.
No.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, no. Like, it's really shocking the amount of like racist groups that are in Florida. Like, my husband grew up in Fort Pierce, and he's only a little bit older than me. And as a kid, there would be KKK rallies in the park.
Oh my God.
Like, not that long ago. And those people are still around. Those people are still there.
That's because we live in a country where racism and being overtly racist, like, it's being very much emboldened encouraged now, it feels like. I mean, yesterday I was on Tubi watching a movie, and the ad that starts playing is an ad for like ICE recruitment, and like it was like 50K sign-on bonus plus student loan forgiveness. Whoa.
Sell your soul to the devil.
How do we have the funds and the means for this? The point where you're talking about the KKK rally in the park, I had the privilege of going to Germany in high school, and we got to visit a concentration camp from during the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And there were school trips there, and people of various ages feeling the walls, crying, grieving, like experiencing this history so it doesn't repeat. In Germany, you don't see swastikas flying around, you don't see hate symbols flying around, but you come to Florida,
You've got Confederate flags everywhere.
It's the Confederate flags, and that's seen as Southern pride when we know
not. You're fucking losers.
Right, and we know the real meaning behind that flag is a war for slavery.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's not considered a criminal offense to fly that.
It should be. We have, as a society, we have tolerated the bigotry and racism and everything, and we have not criminalized it in the way that it should be.
Right.
And so it's been able to flourish. And the people who hold these views, we gave it a face. Why did we give it a fucking face?
And now, like, we're going through this sanitization of history.
Yeah.
And, like, this retelling and rewriting history. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the PragerU video of Christopher Columbus. That video is crazy.
It's insane. It's part of the reason why I left teaching, because I can't teach that. I can't seriously do that.
What is that? Like,
how can I take myself seriously if I was to do that?
I couldn't even stomach that. Like, bile rising up the throat, and you're having people of color, teachers, teach this to students as well. This history that is completely false. I just telling, what is this message that we're teaching young kids?
Yeah, the people who are in power, the fact that they are complying with this. Is you can say no. And if everyone says no, what are they going to do?
We just don't have enough people saying no right now.
Which is a shame.
Yeah. Benefits them. So
it's so messed up. All right. So when it comes to, we already kind of talked about the rejection of the creator, parent, familial abandonment. I guess the moment I wanted to talk about with that was in, what is that fucking, like the windmill or whatever? It's not a windmill. Is it a windmill?
I think they call it a windmill. Yeah, like the tower
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Dr. Frankenstein, Henry Frankenstein, and the monster are in there. And I'm trying to remember the actual sequence. Like, didn't the monster grabbed him and brought him in there with him?
Yeah.
And then like the villagers are all outside of there. And then Henry Frankenstein is like fighting him because he's like, I have to destroy you, which is totally fucked up, right? So let's talk about that.
I feel like when I was watching that scene, I kind of got a kind of like a metaphor for like the erasure of queer and trans history. Like this, I have to erase my mistake, not even viewing Frankenstein's monster as a living, breathing creature. It was, you're a mistake and I have to eliminate you. I have to eliminate all evidence of you. The symbolism of like burning it all down in that building, like, I don't know, it just felt like a reflection of when, like, the burning of, like, the Library of Alexandria, like, you're just burning down this amazing, amazing thing that you did. You created life. Is it exactly what you wanted it to be? Whatever you wanted that to be, because there was a little bit of eugenics, I felt like, too. And I mean...
Not that I think Frankenstein, I guess there is a Son of Frankenstein, which I haven't seen.
I watched like some of it, but it doesn't really stick out much to me. Sorry.
It's okay. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know why I haven't seen it, but I just haven't.
Yeah, I really just mainly go back to Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein.
I just don't see like Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein, like they're not in love. Like, why are you making them have a kid?
No, right. And it's just, I feel like it twists people's perception of the Bride of Frankenstein. in Frankenstein's monster and their relationship, because you really would think they're like this power couple in love. And I mean, Homegirl only had 4 minutes of screen time in her own movie. So, and that first interaction was definitely not one of love. And I don't think it gets any better. So I thought it was weird too that they were having a son, and then like, what is the son gonna go through what the creature went through? Like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to watch it, and I'll let you know if it's any good.
Okay, you gotta let me know. You gotta keep me updated. But yeah, I felt like there was a lot of historical kind of motifs happening in that moment of like, I have to erase this mistake. I need it gone. The fact that this is a reflection of me and the town and like the town's perception of it is so awful, and like it is a socially unacceptable creature. It has to be gone.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. You know what I found interesting about that part too is like Henry Frankenstein is such a weak little man.
He's
like,
pathetic.
It is really pathetic. Like him trying to fight the Frankenstein monster. It's like, what are you doing? You're not winning this. Like,
no,
you just look really pathetic and weak.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? The people who try to fight and try to silence those who are different than them, they look really pathetic and weak.
Okay, because we persevere regardless of all the bills passing, regardless of how much they try to keep our history hidden, how much they try to beat us down and target us and make us the villain in their story. We rise and we rise and we rise and we rise. Another thing that I thought was really beautiful was even with the burning of that building and like him being so sure he got rid of the creature. I love that he didn't pass away in that fire. I love that he came back. And I love that his story continued beyond the doctor.
It was almost like a transformation. He was able to then disconnect himself from the creator and then go on his own path.
Yeah. Was it easy path?
No.
Oh,
unfortunately. It was never going to be easy for poor Frankenstein.
But it was realistic.
One scene that's just like absolutely absurd is when it's like a dummy that gets thrown, but when the Frankenstein monster throws Henry Frankenstein off the top.
He's just flying.
It's like a limp like body that hits the windmill and then like falls, and it's like, oh my God.
And surprisingly lives through that with no injuries of any sort.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just absurd. It was like a soft-bodied doll that was thrown. So the next thing I have in here is like the monsters longing for connection, which I feel we've talked about that a lot with like the little girl and like the innocence and their companionship and how he's just like a kid trying to explore. Like he's literally doing a sink or float experiment. And unfortunately, the little girl sunk and did not float. I am so sorry. That was mean.
Completely.
The next thing I have in here is like the medicalization of the body, science seen as both salvation and horror. And we definitely have that still within society.
Yeah.
His experience is tied to machines and surgery and transformation, imagery deeply familiar to anyone within the LGBTQ plus community. And Frankenstein also plays God, like we've said, over what form of life is acceptable versus unacceptable. And this really mirrors like modern day debates about the medical field and current pressure on doctors to stop providing gender affirming care is kind of what I have in there.
I think my biggest thing that I learned when I was a part of Zebra Youth is there is a lot of misinformation about gender affirming care, especially what that looks like for children specifically. Because most children, when they are transitioning, it's more of a social transition. Like, okay, you use the name that they prefer. Okay, like you dress them in the way that they prefer. It's those little things. And then the most you can really do are like puberty blockers. But there are things that are reversible. they're not surgeries. Most of the times kids, especially in America, cannot get like gender affirming surgery. You're not gonna see a 13-year-old getting bottom surgery. It's just not going to happen. And there's kind of this like weird evil villainization of what gender affirming care looks like, even though it is a very expansive term. It's an umbrella term for the various ways that people can transition. And I feel like too, there's times where you can say that Frankenstein's monster is reflective of when people experience gender dysphoria and like not really liking what they see in the mirror and this yearning for change. And then Henry Frankenstein reflects like the politicians and the lawmakers and these forces that you kind of can't control, you can't touch, they won't listen to you. There was a lot of moments where I was just watching these films and I was just like, I wish Henry would just sit and listen to the monster, even for a little bit, like the hermit did, like the other doctor did, and just try to bridge the gap between them, because then they could come to an understanding. And that's how me, and I'm sure other trans people in the community, feel all of the time. Like, let's sit and come to an understanding about what it's really like to be trans, because Henry Frankenstein, he doesn't know what it feels like to be the monster, to be this who is half kind of dead, half kind of living, but is experiencing both of these sensations in a way that just feels horrible. He doesn't understand it, and he doesn't try to, but he wants to dictate the creature's destiny. He wants to end it. He wants it to be gone. I really do like this tie of like how science can be used for both like good and evil, and how we as humans, there's just some things that we should not dabble in. And there's this evilness of trying to play God over other people's lives.
Yeah, 100%. No one on this earth is God and gets to tell other people how they should or should not live their lives. Just be and let be. If someone's not harming you. And I think that's the whole, it's being represented or, misconstrued as, like you said, the gender affirming care. I'm glad that you brought that up, and what it actually looks like, because people throw around that term a lot and they don't understand what it is. Gender affirming care, really, we should just call it, for like kids, we should just call it caring for kids, respecting kids. That's all it is. Yeah. And you're letting them make choices for themselves. And you know what I have to say about that too, is people are like, oh, well, they're so young, they're so confused, they don't know what they're doing. Well, neither did you when you were a kid, and you still got to explore with different looks and different things and different hair and makeup or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter.
And changes and and fads and trends, and like, why is there a crime attached to people having a choice and attached to people changing their minds? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. It's just because people aren't comfortable with the way that it looks now versus when they were younger. But it's the same stuff. It's everyone exploring and just learning who they are. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And no one is giving kids surgery. No one is giving kids surgery.
You can't.
I think there are cases where kids get surgery, but I think that's like when you're literally born with some kind of medical condition.
It happens a lot to people who are intersex.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. They're the ones that would maybe get surgery, but it's like, it's not gender affirming care. You're born with two sexes, and if they decide that, I don't know, it's like a very personal choice.
And even that is a choice beyond the intersex person's decision. I mean, it's the parent or the doctor who's deciding that for them. And there's a lot of cases with intersex people where they kind of regret not like having that choice, or they kind of feel like this confusion of knowing that physically they feel very different, but like this kind of path was chosen for them from birth of like one or the other.
Yeah, because don't they choose that when they're very, very, very young? It's definitely not something where they're given a choice.
Yeah, and I wish there was more history and like advocacy and just activism around like intersex people. I feel like that's like a big thing that Orlando and this country in general is lacking. I really haven't met many intersex people. And you know, some could say that I'm intersex. I have a lot of testosterone in my body and I'm AFAB, and I have PCOS. But I mean, I feel like these characteristics about myself, I don't want to be a part of the binary. So it makes me feel good.
Yeah. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you as an individual, you're the one who has to live with you. Like, you're the one, like, why does anyone else care? If you're not that person. You don't have to live in their skin. So like, why do you feel like you need to have an opinion on them?
Right.
It's selfish and self-centered.
Yep. True narcissistic tendencies, in my opinion.
I agree. I guess the last little theme I have in here is like, who is the real monster? Society versus the other. The central question of Frankenstein is the monster really the monster, or is it society that made him a monster? Which we've kind of already touched on this with like nature versus nurture. There's a lot of stigma, which we brought up.
What is considered a monster? I mean, before Frankenstein, before the creature, right? There was no schema of what a monster looked like in that society. All these people just came together like a hive mind, and they saw something that they don't understand, and they just decided, oh, you look different than us. Okay, then you're the monster. It's a construct, and I feel like that is the real monster of the story, is this otherness that we create in society that does not have to exist in the first place. Race is a social construct. Gender is a social construct.
Yeah.
Things that define us and limit us and divide us, they're all constructs that is really reflected through the monster's experience of like, he is so new and they are scared. It is a perfect portrayal of how fear and hate combined can really explode into tragedy and death.
I guess the last little point that I just kind of thought about as you were talking is like, it's almost seen as like blasphemy, the Frankenstein monster. And we see this in today's age. We see this now, how religion is used as a tool against non-conforming people. Because they say it's unnatural. It's not how God made you.
It's not Christ-like.
So that's used as saying, you know, you are defying God by not living the life that you were assigned by this whatever.
I'm sure that's how Dr. Frankenstein felt when he created that life, and it wasn't this like picture perfect image. Like, I'm sure that he felt like he was experiencing like divine punishment of some sort. Maybe I should not have dabbled in this, because look at this like unsightly thing I created. Like, whoa, like maybe I should just leave it up to the organized religion that these people believe in, which most of the time is Christianity. The form of Christianity that is what I believe is true Christianity, that's supposed to bring us together and love one another, it has been completely lost. And there is like this branch of Christianity that's very extremist, because I grew up in the church and I kind of have like a mixed relationship with Christianity. And for a while there was like a huge disconnect, and I kind of not feared Christians of like any sort, but kind of they weren't the main people I hung around, you know what I mean? But then I had a coworker who is like staunch Christian and is like one of the sweetest people I've ever met. And we would always say like, if it wasn't for this job, we probably wouldn't have been friends, because I don't even know how our paths would have even crossed. But the Christianity that she talked about of like welcoming each other with open arms, no matter who you are and what your background is, that's how Jesus walked. Not this whole pick and choose who you're going to love and who you're going to hate and who we're going to punish today and who's going to get into heaven and who's not. Who are we to decide that? I've never kicked it with Jesus. I don't know him. He don't know me. But I feel like if Jesus existed today, I mean, Jesus was persecuted for being different. He was persecuted for his time and crucified because he did not follow the religion of the time. And he was persecuted by the Romans. And people forget that. I truly think Jesus would be trying to find a bridge between us all and trying to get to know us all. This white Jesus that people be hailing, I don't know him, because the Jesus I know was Palestinian, but I mean, they don't want to get into that.
And that's why they don't align, because that's their Jesus. They can't worship someone that doesn't look like them.
Yeah, seriously, isn't that crazy?
It is. It's very.
But thank you so much for having this conversation with me today.
Of course. Thank you for being willing to come on and talk with me. And I think that I have one more last thing for you. And it's I have like rewrite a horror trope.
Oh.
So it's like a body horror transition one. So the prompt is, what if medical transition or self-transformation was portrayed as ascension? What would that look like though? What would a metamorphosis of self-transformation, instead of being seen as being a monster, it being portrayed as being ascension and becoming your higher self?
God.
Like, if you were going to do that with Frankenstein, how would you like it to end with Frankenstein instead of him burning in that windmill? Like, what if he came out? Like, how would you rewrite that? Like, if he came out of the fire like a phoenix.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
The ashes.
Yes.
Well, first and foremost, I'm sorry, Henry, but you gotta go. Done. You're done. Like, no. And I think if I had to rewrite it and he's like, I would want him to be able to go on a journey of like self-love and like, you know, kind of understand the parts of himself. Like, you know, go leave that small town and find a lit bar or pub or a space where he can drink his wine that he was sipping so happily and smoke his cigar and top off, surgery scars out, like out. Like,
oh my God, what if all his clothes got burnt up, like his shirt got burnt up and his pants got burnt up, and then he was just wearing these like little short shorts, and he looked ripped, and he comes out.
Girl, this is some smut. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This is some monster fucker smut. Lord God, we're losing the plot. We're losing the plot completely.
This is the plot. What do you mean? He's gonna come out. He's gonna be like
by calling Hoover. I don't know. What is it? The person who wrote a Crown of Thorn and Roses, that she now just ghost wrote Frankenstein, or maybe Frankenstein written by Stephanie Meyer. I don't know. He sparkles in the sun.
All right, maybe not my version, but
oh my God.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest.
Of course, I had so much fun.
Of course. And I'll keep up to date with like your shows and stuff, and I'll definitely head out to one of them and support you.
Okay. Hope to see you soon.
Let's end on a high note. Weekly horror update. Black Phone 2 is in theaters right now. I actually saw it last week and it was pretty good. I would say I would give it like a 4 out of 5. It's more of a intro to horror movie, and I really saw it as like a love letter to a few different slashers, specifically the Nightmare on Elm Street. There were at least 4 different plot elements that directly mirror the Nightmare on Elm Street. So I think that they did a good job with it. I liked the first movie, and there were some things that disappointed me about this one. Like, it was just a little bit too perfect. Everything just played out a little bit too well. You know, we want to make everyone happy. I think when you make everything just hunky-dory at the end, it's a little, okay. Thanks, Goosebumps. The Good Boy horror movie with the dog is now on video on demand, so you can go rent that. So we've got 3 horror movies in theaters this Friday. That's a lot of movies that just came out. We've got Queens of the Dead, which I am definitely going to see. The director is Tina Romero, the daughter of George Romero, and she tackles the zombie genre with fresh eyes, and I can't wait to see what she does with it. I've heard really good reviews so far. Shelby Oaks is in theaters as well. It's supposed to be very creepy, paranormal investigation movie. Then we've got Dream Eater, who is being distributed by Eli Roth's company, The Horror Section. This is a found footage film about a woman who begins documenting her boyfriend's violent sleepwalking in a remote cabin. I know that this is not a wide release. If it is playing near you, I'm hearing really great things about this movie as well. It's supposed to be very scary. If I drink too much, or when I was younger, I used to sleepwalk. So sleepwalking is something that terrifies me anyway, because when I'm sleepwalking, I don't know what I'm doing. And I've done some weird things sleepwalking. I'm not going to tell you what they were, but I've done some weird things sleepwalking. So this movie, I'm definitely interested in. I think anything where you're not in control of your actions and yourself is just terrifying. Next week is Spooky Empire, and I am going to be vending at Spooky Empire. That is starting on Halloween. On October 31st, I will be at Spooky Empire handing out candy as I also promote my podcast and sell different merchandise that I have. I'm there the whole weekend. So I'll be there Saturday and Sunday as well. Just come say hi. If you listen, it's always cool to see who is actually listening to me. If anyone's listening to me, I definitely get like a little bit of embarrassment of like, oh shit, they've fucking heard me say that thing. They know me more than I know anything about them. So it's kind of a weird experience, but it's cool. I'm excited to hear what people think and just connect with my audience, because that's what it's about. Like, I would like to create a community around this and around fighting for people's rights and within the horror genre and bringing light to issues. So that's what I'm about. I'm continuing with my 31 days of horror history. If you're not following me on social media, you should go do that now. I haven't gotten the results yet, but as far as I know, I'm still in the Face of Halloween challenge, and I have made it to the finals as of like the very last second. I was watching as the time was ticking by. I was still number one in my group. So that means that I should be moving on now to the final round. And this is it. I'm going to be done with this competition. And either I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. I'm going to win. There's no way I'm going to let that happen, and I need your guys' help for that to happen. At this point, anyone who has been making the free donation daily, I appreciate you. You are a true one. But to win this at this point, it is going to take monetary donations. They are tax deductible, and it does go to a good cause. All the proceeds go to the Starlight Children's Foundation. This is a weekly podcast with episodes out every Thursday. All the research, writing, and audio is done by yours truly. This is a one-woman show, and I'm doing my very best. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. It really means a lot. You can find me on Instagram at Scream Queen Podcaster, Blue Sky at Scream Queen Podcast, TikTok at Scream Queen Podcast, and there's a link tree that will take you to my YouTube and Facebook page as well. Remember, if you create something, it doesn't mean it's yours. Whether that's a person, a piece of art, a film, it's all up to interpretation. Until next time, goodbye.